In theaters now is the Japanese film Drive My Car, no relation to the Beatles song, based on a novel by Harumi Murakami, who's done a lot of novels and had films based on them. This is a story of, you see, it goes on for a while and then there's like this big shift. So I don't know if I should tell you about the big shift or not. There's this man who's an actor, respected actor, and I guess theater director, who has a Saab. I'm going to talk a lot about this Saab. He has a red Saab, and he drives his wife, who I believe is a screenwriter or teleplay writer, back and forth to work, and he's the driver. He loves to drive, and they have sort of a loving but complicated relationship. And then at some point, something drastic happens, and we flash forward 2 years, and we follow the husband trying to mount a production of Uncle Vanya somewhere in Japan. And he is assigned, we're leading up to the title here, he is assigned someone to drive his car because the theater company, for some reason, does not allow, they say why, does not allow the talent to drive themselves. So reluctantly, he lets somebody else drive his car, which he really doesn't want to do because it's an old car and it's quirky and all that. I think it's like a late 80s, very early 90s model Saab, 900S Turbo. I'm a guy who never knows numbers or letters in cars, but I'll tell you why I know that one. So the film, it basically follows this director coming to terms with that thing that happened and dealing with somebody else driving his car. It's 3 hours long. It's funny. I love Japanese films. I love films from every country. But one of my jokes is if somebody in Japan goes to get financing for a film, the person putting up the money first has to ask, is it 2.5 hours long? Yes? Okay, sure, we'll do it. Tell me what it's about. Japanese films tend to be very long. That's why I'm always excited when I review some older Japanese movies and they're like 80 minutes because everything seems to be minimum 2.5 hours. So this is 3 hours. So be prepared for that. It's also very, very slow and quiet and features a lead who's emotionless and doesn't talk much and stares off into space a lot. If you've heard other reviews that I've done, I'm not a fan of movies about people who cannot feel. I find them boring. I found this boring. It could have easily lost an hour. Now, it is highly acclaimed, and again, people will tell me how wrong I am and how dumb I am and all that stuff. I'm just talking about my personal reaction to this film. I went in knowing almost nothing about it, besides the fact that there was a red Saab in it, and that it was very highly regarded and based on a well-known author's work. So, and I saw it at a theater I'd never been to before, which was kind of cool. So I was in it to win it. Show me something. And there's a lot of footage of rehearsing Uncle Vanya read-throughs. There's a lot of footage of performing Uncle Vanya. And I know why it's there because it relates to the characters and its parallels and all that. But I just thought it was really, really dull for me. It has its moments. It has quirky moments. I can't say that the performances weren't good. And for me, the greatest thing, and this is so stupid, the greatest thing for me was that growing up, my family always had Saabs, S-A-A-B, the Swedish car. And I always thought it was funny that, well, doesn't matter. We had Saabs, and my father would, every so many years, would trade one and get a different one. And we had a red Saab. We never had the 900S Turbo. We had a 900. And it's, for me, the greatest value of this film was to see the inside of a Saab again on the big screen. Often shot from the back seat where our protagonist is riding when he's being driven, or just where the cameraman sits because they're not that big inside. I found myself looking at the dashboard. I found myself going, oh, the buttons, that's the vents, they're the same, and that's where the handle had that little slide. This is so stupid. It's the dumbest review you're going to hear of this movie. It was so nice to see the inside of a Saab again and see what was different and similar about the one that my family had 30-something years ago. And it's also weird to see a Saab in a movie because they were never, aside from Sweden, I mean, they were here. We had a dealership in our town, but they were never that common a thing to see. So to see one in a movie now is just odd. The film is about loss and coming to terms with one's past and oneself and love and what you expect from another person. It's got deep, meaningful things in it, and it means a lot to a lot of people. I personally just didn't care for it. So as I often say, it's just my opinion. Don't not see it if you think it looks good. Don't, you know, don't just, I'm just talking. So in theaters now, a lot of people really, really like it, is Drive My Car.